this might have been missed today. So this is about an hour ago. From two sources, we're going to talk about Ross Howard again. We're going to talk about Fabrizio Romano, what he said about an hour ago as well. So hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully this stream goes okay, and you can actually get a signal. So let's see, you can get a signal on this. So this is not clickbait. This is just me reporting the news as I've heard it. I've kept an eye on this today. You can tell me if you think is that complete and utter nonsense. I'd love to know what you think in the chat. And as I sort of always say, if there's any updates what I think is worth it, I will always jump on and let you guys know. So if you have just joined, two updates, and you can let me know what you think on this one. So there are two updates. I'm going to prefix this. One is from Fabrizio. So this is not a clickbait. This is not a me saying that it's not over just for clicks. This is me reporting what I've just seen for the last hour, and this sort of might have been missed. This is coming from Fabrizio. Also Ross Howard, as I'm going to mention him, and as to why why there might be still some hope, and I'll give you my opinion on potentially why there's still some hope. Just a little bit of hope, maybe not a lot. So Fabrizio Romano in the last hour has basically said that United are still in for Baleba. They're not completely out of the race for Baleba just yet. Now he's kind of indicated that, and then sort of prefixed it with 2026, but he basically said that they're not out of the race just this season. Hi Hesty, I hope you're doing really, really well. So if you have just, I promise you this is not clickbait. This is not me just jumping on, I'm away. I don't just jump on for no reason, but I just need to kind of give an update as to where I've seen this from. So there's two parts, so just bear with me. Maria says hi, hello. Just bear with me on the first part. It's Danny B, legend. So just bear with me on the first part, and then I'll back it up with the second part. So who cares for Believe in 2026? We want players now to 26, but let's go for Water and Laments. Shivram, let me go into it, and then we can go as to what we think is right. Okay, so Ross Howard, just stick with me here. It's not just him. So Ross Howard has come out and basically just said, don't believe it, right? Okay, which is fine. So Ross Howard is getting a ton of stick right now. Okay, so I get that, but he's going all in on this one. Okay, so he's saying it can still happen. Okay, so but people have missed this. Fabrizio Romano, an hour ago, has come on and said that United are still in for Baleba. They still appreciate the player. They still like the player, but there could be a deal done for 2026. Now, these two things are not connected. They are connected, but he didn't say they're in and they're going to go in 2026. He basically said that United still appreciate the player. They still would like to do a deal. West Ham so bad shows back 5 is madness in Prem. Yeah, I mean, Sunderland, I mean, that is pretty bad, right? Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the back 5. So if you have just joined, I promise you this is not clickbait. This is just looking at the news, and again, what I do is I logically put things together, logically what I think, and then we come together and we talk about this, right? So there's two parts to this for me, and I'll tell you how I'm on it as well. So Ross Howard has come out again, and he's going all in on this one. Could potentially now make himself look silly. I've commented to him, just what's the language, my friend? I'm gonna have to remove that comment. I don't know how to do it. So if you know anything about here, we don't do things for clickbait. I'll give you a logical response, and I'll jump onto the things that I've seen, and I put not 2 and 2 together to make 6, but 2 and 2 together just to bring you the news. Okay. So two things here at play. So Ross Harwood, who's been good on the Shesko stuff, who's really good on the Baleba timeline stuff. And he's come out and basically said, don't believe it, this is still going to happen. You can take that as you like. And, you know, I don't necessarily fully believe him. Potentially he could just be doing it for clicks. He's gone all in on this one. But this has been missed. An hour ago, Fabrizio has come on and said that United still appreciate the player and talked about, you know, United would love to go for him. The players agreed. And if not, they'll go back in for him in 2026. Now, the two are not related in terms of, there's a bit that says basically that United still appreciate the player and still would like the player to come, but then if they don't get him, then it could be 2026. Now you can read into that what you like, but considering that there's somebody that I think is okay that's still saying that still watch this deal, it could still happen, and you've got Fabrizio coming on and basically not saying that this is not going to happen. You know, do we need to take note of it? You know, I was always in the camp of I still remain calm and I still think he's going to come, but at the same time I'm a bit like, Fabrizio has not ruled it out. He's basically said that Baleba, he's not said that Baleba's definitely not coming. He's basically an hour ago said that Baleba, United still admire Baleba and they would still like him at the club, and if nothing happens they would still go back in from 2026. Now these two things he said are not linked, they're different, they're two different statements in the same tweet. So you know, you can look at it a couple of ways. Let me just get into this. So do you think it's like a guy last year? First we bid, move on, and then we got in the same Baleba. This is why Baleba got snubbed. Something that certainly minutes today. How sir will we improve our midfield? Tensu, legend of the chat. We're gonna get another midfield player. JB, none of this is making any sense. So let me tell you where I'm at on this one. Okay, I still think there is hope. You know, I was always of the opinion to remain calm, and we're going to get him. Now, obviously, that has to change because of what was coming out today. Now, let me tell you where the two things are coming from. Number one, Ross Harwood has said we're still in for this deal. Now, believe that or not, you know, he's an independent guy. I've called him out a lot on this channel in terms of I've promoted him a lot on this channel. And about an hour ago, Fabrizio himself has basically come out and said United still like the player, indicating that United still in for this player, and if nothing happens in this window, then they'll come back in from 2026. Now, I don't believe 2026 is going to happen, but Fabrizio hasn't come out and basically said this is not going to happen. Like he's not come out in his tweet and said, look, this is definitely not happening, this is going to happen in 2026. Now, have they gone to the market and gone, like, Walton is going to cost you 80 million, Homeland's going to cost you best part of 60 million, just purely because of the timing. Homeland's 26, just turned 26. Walton is 80 million. So have we just gone, well, actually, do you know what, do we just invest in this player now? And Nishvan, I think that, you know, I agree with you, none of this does make sense. Are we trying to play, are we trying to be clever here? I don't know. And as you say, Baleba come off in the 70th minute, maybe that means something, maybe it doesn't. But I think it's been missed. I think the last hour, Fabrizio, I can't exactly read the tweet now because I'm on the phone, but Fabrizio has come out and basically said, insinuate we're still in for this player. That was about an hour ago. And then he's gone on to say, if we don't get him this season, then we're definitely in for him the next season. So, you know, is there still hope? Let's see. Aaron is consistently contradicting himself. He said we need a midfielder. In the press, he said we need midfielders. We've got midfielders still in the game. I agree with you. Marind Remo, sorry if I've pronounced your name wrong. So if you have just joined, I'm going to repeat myself again, obviously, is that about an hour ago, two things for me, and as I say, I don't just do things for clickbait. You know me, right? I will just come on and repeat the news and just sort of say where I'm at on it. So Ross Harwood has been pretty good on Cheska. He's been pretty good on the Baleba timeline up until this point. Has come out with a tweet and just said this is still happening. You know, it's not over. Check him out. Okay, he's getting a ton of abuse on this. He's getting an absolute ton of abuse. If you check out, I sent him an X saying, look, mate, you know, it's not right that you're getting abuse on this, but you got to give context, right? And then about an hour ago, I still think this has been missed. Fabrizio has come out. Basically, Fabrizio's just come out and basically said that we still appreciate the player. He's not come out and said we're not in for him, we're going to be after him in 2026. Romano has said that we still appreciate the player, we still like the player, and if we don't get him this year, in so many words, we'll be back in for him in 2026. So when you're looking at that and 70th minute come off today, you know, are we actually going back? You know, we have submitted a bid. Let's not forget this. We have submitted a bid, and we have been talking to Brighton. And are we going back in for this play? Is it actually over yet? You know, I don't think we've heard the last of this. Now you can obviously believe what you want to believe, and I just have to go with. You know, I'm pretty much resigned to the fact that he's not going to come. But Fabrizio's not ruled this out yet. So if he doesn't rule it out, and he has come out, and this is Fabrizio, you know, Ross Harwood has come out, and whether you like him or not, you know, he has been consistent on this. He was consistent on Shesko, and basically said, look, you know, this is still happening. This deal is not off. And then Fabrizio, an hour ago, the GOAT says we still appreciate this player. We still like the player, and if we don't go in for him this season, then we'll go back in for him next season. So why would he come out and say that and not just say United? You know, and this was an hour ago. This wasn't yesterday. This was today. So I think we're still in for Baleba. I might be wrong on this one. I'm not saying that we're going to get him, but I think maybe we've gone to the market and we've looked at Homeland, and maybe Homeland is not the right OUFC. Mate, all I'm doing is reporting the news. As I was saying here, right, feel free to come on here. Feel free to come and give us some banter. What's wrong with the sound is basically I'm on holiday. I don't know if you can hear it through that, but I'm on holiday, and that's what it is. Fair enough. Fair enough. LUFC, but I mean I'm going to remove that particular chat. But you're more than welcome to come in here, mate. The banter's fine. Just sort of watch the language, you know, like I have to be consistent on this one. Maybe a fan base are in so much uproar. Ineos just pay 120 million. Let's do this over. Stop embarrassing us with this title. Slices of Sip. I'm literally, mate, just reporting the news. This is not clickbait. This is not me clickbaiting. This is me reporting what I've seen in the last hour. Okay, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree that we should move on from Baleba, but we're in Fabrizio, and we're not just talking about Ross Harwood here. Like, I like Ross, he's been quite good. We're talking about Fabrizio. So when Fabrizio comes on and says that United still like this player, we're still in for this player, with words around that effect, and then says if we don't get him this season, then we will go back in for next season. These two things are not linked. So with Fabrizio an hour ago is saying that I've got to come on and report that because that's Fabrizio. That's not just some random guy or some random independent trying to do clickbait. If I don't come on and say to you guys, look, this is what's happening, I'm not embarrassing anybody. I'm just so you're saying that Fabrizio is embarrassing us by coming out with the news. Like, all I'm doing is reporting something that I think is important for this fan base, and you might be right. We may not get him. He may not come to us. I agree with you. And I'm not saying at this point that he's come to us. But I truly believe that this is not done yet. You know, I truly believe that we possibly may go back in for him. You know, you got to think about it from a logical perspective, right? He's not going to come to us next season. He's just not going to. We've got a free shot at him this season. Wharton's going to cost you 80 million now. It's going to cost you the best part of 80 million. Homeland's 26, probably going to cost 60 million. He's worth 45 to 50, because of the market now and where we are, we're going to be charged 60 million. So why wouldn't you go and pay 115 million for this player? And then, like, financially, it's always made sense to me. So are we then going to go back in for this player? Now, of course, you can have your opinions on that one, but I'm not embarrassing myself. I'm just not making this up. I'm just reporting what I've seen it, and I think it's a relevant update to say that Fabrizio Romano, as well as Ross Harwood, that I not trust necessarily, but I think he's been a good guy. You look at his timelines on Shesko, you look at his timelines up until this point, and he's been pretty good. But then when Fabrizio comes out and says, we're still in for this play, we still like this play, in so many words, what you're going to understand is Fabrizio is very, very clever. And he's come out of this and basically said, if we still like the player. If we don't come in for him this season, we'll go back in for him next season. So the two things are not separate. Like, the two things are separate and not the same thing, because he's separated these things out. So I still think that we're in for him. I think we're going to get him. I think we can get him, but it really depends on the appetite of the club. He's there to be gotten. And have we figured out now that the alternatives are not as good and they're just as expensive? Just go and get the best there is. JB doesn't do. Yeah, I don't, mate. Homeland guy from Sporting could change the face of our midfield. As we wait for Baleba and Brighton to come on board, business come January. Mate, if we don't get him now, then it's now or never. And maybe we're thinking about this. They know something. I'm starting to think we're still in for him. 70th minute sub. We're gonna win. We're gonna win regardless of Baleba. I don't disagree, Gupta, but we need to think about this. Slice of SRB says Liverpool, Chelsea, and Madrid and Barcelona will likely get him next season. I don't disagree with you, my friend. I don't disagree. That's where I'm at right now. But as I said, I still have to report. If this was just from Ross Harwood, I wouldn't have bothered, because I just think at this point, when Fabrizio originally and Ornstein have come out and said, look, we've walked away from the deal, and then an hour ago Fabrizio comes back on and says we still like the player, we're still interested in this player, insinuates that, and then in the next breath says, oh, actually, if we're not in for him, then we'll come back in 2026. Slices, I agree with you, my friend. If we come in next season for him, we're done and dusted. We're not going to get him, right? I agree with you completely. If City's coming behind our back, then we're cooked. I'm hearing City want him in this window. Nish fan, I agree with you, mate. If City come in, they're going to get it done. Yes, Brighton has said he's not for sale, but every one of their players is for sale. Don't believe that. Every player they got is for sale, but it depends on what our appetite is for sale. So I'll tell you where I'm at on it as well. Premier 2000, I saw Baleba's game today. I'm not impressed. I understand why the price is so high. If you look at his game overall, I mean, you can't just judge it on one game, right? If you look at his stats overall, I think he'll be a decent player, but maybe his head's been turned. I think his head has been turned. I think that I still think there's something in this, and I'm going on Fabrizio. I have to. Michelle B. Isaac says, say hi, Nishvan. Ornstein's been wrong before. He was wrong with Casido. Exactly. I'll go back over it for those who just joined. So, Baleba, where we are with Baleba right now, and I'll give you the two sources. So, Fabrizio has come on, and you've got to take note when Fabrizio says stuff. He's basically come on and alluded that we still like the player, we're still interested in the player. Go look, I can't remember his exact words, but he's basically said that we're still interested in this player, we still like the player, and if nothing materialises this season, then we'll go back from next season. And this is not yesterday. This is about an hour and a bit ago now. Ross Harwood, whether you like him or not, I said this deal is not done. Now, if it was just from Ross Harwood in this situation, I've recommended him before on the Shesko stuff, because I generally thought that was happening and that was real, right? But if Ross Harwood had have just said we're still in for him, I wouldn't have come on and I wouldn't have said anything. But then Romano sort of kind of backed this up a little bit and said that we still appreciate the player, we still like the player. But if nothing materialises this season, we'll go in for him next season. So we are still in for him. Big up to B. Rob, cheers, legend of the chat, mate. Yeah, I so far so good. Yeah, just trying to do streams in between in this vertical format. The sound's not great, the connection isn't great either, but I do what I can whenever I see stuff. I think it's important to come on. Yeah, I think his head's been turned. He must be thinking, oh no, how I'm 12. Exactly. So I think that's where we're at, Nish fan. Yeah, and that's where we're at. So I'll go for it once more, and then I'm going to sort of head off, and we can sort of see how this develops. So where I'm at on this one, and this is not clickbait, and I'm sure people are going to come on and say this is clickbait and whatever else. You know me, guys. It's not. Two things at play here, and this is why I've come on, because there are two things. One is a big one for me, and the other one sort of backs it up slightly. So Fabrizio in the last hour and a bit has come on and said United appreciate Baleba and are still kind of in and around, and if we don't get him this season, then we'll come back in 2026. All right. Now Ross Harwood, who I kind of mentioned before, he said this deal isn't over. Now he's been wrong before. If he'd have just said that, I wouldn't have come on here, because that's Ross Harwood, right? You know, at the end of the day, you know, he's still been wrong before, but he has been right on Šeško and Baleba Tarman. But because Fabrizio and Ornstein have come on before and said, look, we're pretty much walking away from this deal. But then an hour and a bit ago, Fabrizio's come on and then basically said that. So when Fabrizio comes on and says, United still appreciate the player, we could be going from this season. If you don't get him this season, we go from next season. You've got to put two and two together, and you've got to think: have we gone to Crystal Palace and Wharton's, and Palace have said we're not selling Wharton. If we do sell him, we want the best part of 80, 90 million, and maybe we've done all the stats and we're like, he's not as good as Baleba. Humland won't come, or Humland's just like, or Sport and the like now, because we've got to consider that this part of the window players are going to be more expensive. And have we just gone, do you know what? If we don't go for Baleba this season, we're going to miss out on a world-class player. We're going to miss out on this player. Whether you agree with it or not, potentially you may think that he's not worth the money, and I respect that completely. But then if we don't go from this season, we've got a clear run pretty much, then we'll go get him this season. So I still think there's a chance. This is not clickbait. This is based on Fabrizio Romano. This is based on what he said, and to back up with someone else I trusted, who said this is not finished yet. Now I've asked him for context. So I've gone on X and I've asked him for context to let me know. Now I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I'm not saying, for 1 second that City might not come in. We may not do it this season. Maybe we will try and get him next season. But when Fabrizio comes on and basically comes and puts two separate statements, basically alluding we still appreciate the player, is it over? I don't think this is over yet. I really don't. Logically, I don't think it's over just yet. I think maybe we're trying to do something. Maybe we've unsettled the player. Maybe Brighton maybe we are trying to get the price down from 130 to like 110 million. Will we just do this deal now? And this is where I'm at on it. So I still think we need to believe. Of course we do. But this is not me just plucking stuff out of my arse. The one thing I would say, I don't do clickbait. I do not do clickbait. When I come on and I say something, listen to it back. I'll still give you context. I'll still tell you everything where it's from and what I think. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm wrong either. But this is just more about me reporting the news. So where we're at before I go, this is basically 2 points for me. Number one, Fabrizio has come on in about an hour and 10 minutes ago, basically saying that United still appreciate the player. If we don't get him this season, pretty much we'll come back in from 2026. Now those two things are not the same thing. They are different statements. And then somebody that I've trusted so far, who's been spot on in this window with the Baleba timeline, has been spot on with the Šeško stuff, has also said that this deal isn't over. And he's been pretty good so far. And I'm not saying that he's right. I'm just saying that when you've got those two things come up, it's interesting. Let me go through the chat and a little bit through the chat. Austin has been wrong before. Yeah, I think his head's been turned. Exactly. Henry says a mate of mine is a right back for Harrogate Town. Says the deal won't happen this season. Too many hurdles at this stage. And Henry, mate, I don't disagree with that, mate. You know, I don't disagree with that. You know, I think we'll still be in at 2026. But I still think there's something in this deal. So that's what it could be. It could be 2026 deal. But when Fabrizio comes and talks about this and still says that we appreciate the player, something could be done in 2026, but the two things are not exclusive. I think Baleba goes to a different club this window. I'm not sure of it. No one wants a bidding more. Exactly that. So it's a one-shot deal. I still think